Coming up, countdown to the election. We're just 1 month away from the presidential election, and we have a special episode in store for you. Find out just what it takes to become president of the United States. Then I'll sit down with a few kids to hear what they have to say about the presidential election.
My family and I have been talking about it quite frequently. So, and also my friends have been talking about it a lot.
My parents are very open to discussion about politics and the election and current events.
It's usually just a friendly discussion, usually mostly with my family, not usually my friends or teachers.
I think that the president should meet with kids and just talk with them about things that are going on.
Plus, have you ever wondered what's the first thing you would do if you were elected president?
If I became president, the first thing I would do would rid the dinner plates of vegetables and no more broccoli.
First thing I would do is request behind the plate seats at a Yankee game. But in all seriousness, probably impose a term limit on Supreme Court justices.
Also ahead, this winning sticker design will be given to voters in Vermont. And pause some politics. This race for mayor has gone to the dogs. We're in Kentucky with details.
This is NBC Nightly News Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. It's great to be with you. We have a special episode this week dedicated to the upcoming presidential election. We've joined forces, so to speak, with the Week Junior and have some really great segments in store for you, including the results of a new poll the Week Junior conducted with children ages 8 to 14 about the 2024 presidential election. Plus, some kids will join me here in the studio for a really thoughtful discussion about the issues that are important to them.
So I would probably address the free school lunches, because many kids in the United States depend on free school lunches.
And we also have some really fun tips on how you can get involved in the upcoming presidential election. But before we get to all that, let's begin with a look at just what it takes to become president of the United States. Check it out. Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, just a few of more than 40 who have served as president of the United States. To date, no woman has held the office.
Hi, my name is Harlow, and my question is, who can run for president? Hi, my name is Hunter, and my question is, how can I run for president of the United States?
Those are great questions. The U.S. Constitution, which is the law for the country, lists only a couple requirements to run for president.
Unfortunately, a 10-year-old cannot run for president. According to the Constitution, you have to be at least 35 years old to serve as president, and also be native born, which generally means born inside this country.
The president's responsibilities include things like signing bills into law, although the president doesn't make the laws. That's up to Congress. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. But if you look at the Constitution, there's not much of a job description.
The Constitution, interestingly, is not very specific about what a president should do, and there was a reason for that. The people who wrote our Constitution in 1787 knew that the first president of the United States would be General George Washington. And these founders thought so much of Washington that they thought, why not let him define what a president does by his example?
Today, the president is limited to 2 four-year terms in office, but a lot has to happen before a U.S. president is elected. There are 2 major political parties in the U.S., the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Usually, those with similar ideas are a part of the same party. This year, Vice President Kamala Harris, a Democrat, is running for president against former President Donald Trump, a Republican who is seeking a second term in office. Every 4 years, in November, Americans 18 and older can vote for the candidate they want for president. But the candidate with the most votes nationally doesn't necessarily win.
There's a system that our founders gave us where those votes go into an electoral college. Each state gets a few electors, and the person who gets the most electoral votes is the person who becomes president. that may not be the same person as the person who got the most popular votes.
We know this can sound a bit confusing, but it's all a part of our republic, a government by the people. Well, every year, The Week Junior magazine and the polling firm YouGov conduct an annual survey of kids across the country ages 8 to 14. And this year's survey focuses on kids' thoughts about the upcoming 2024 presidential election. And the results are pretty interesting. With me here in the studio are 4 kids from the Week Junior's Junior Council. Seated on the chairs here are Minerva and Annika, and behind them on the high stools are Lucas and Augustus. Welcome to all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you ever been in a TV studio before?
No. First
It's a little,
time.
it's a little cold in here, right?
Yeah.
Viewers never understand. Anyway, it's great to have you here. I'm curious how many of you guys talk about the election on a daily basis. A show of hands. How many of you? Okay, all of you do. That's interesting because that falls in line with what our survey said, which was that 67% of kids talk about who the next president will be at least once a week. 16% discuss it every day. So, Annika, let me start with you. Do you talk to your teachers about it, your family about it? How do you talk about the election?
So, my family and I have been talking about it like quite frequently. So, and also my friends have been like talking about it like a lot.
And Augustus, you talk about it a lot as well. Are you talking to your teachers or your classmates?
I think mostly my family and my parents are very open to discussion about politics and the election and current events, so we discuss it a lot as a family.
Yeah, and Lucas, you raised your hand as well. Do you, when you talk about it, do you sometimes try to convince people of your point of view? You don't have to tell me who you're backing, but do you try to convince others?
Not usually. It's usually just a friendly discussion, usually mostly with my family, not usually like my friends or teachers. Usually like at the dinner table, or we're just watching like the news. Or
Yeah, how about you, Minerva? You talk about it. Do you talk about how close this election is?
Yeah, so I talk about it with my mom, my dad, my brother, Augustus. Yeah, because the election, the president determines some of my rights now and also some of my rights when I'm older, so it's really important.
All right, the majority of the kids in the survey said that honesty is the most important trait in the next president. I want to know about some of the qualities you think would make a good president. Annika, what do you look for in a president?
So I'd like to see a president who is very who can make tough choices the right way, someone who can unite the country, and like those kids said, someone who's very honest.
Yeah, and you talk about, for a president making decisions in the right way. Do you recognize how hard it is, you think, to be president?
Yeah, because you have to pick what's best for the country and not what's best for just yourself and your family.
And Minerva, what do you look for in a president?
For a president, I look for someone who's inclusive to all groups of people and is willing to protect everyone and not just the people that they voted for, and is also good about speaking to other countries in a respectful way and really thoughtful and not just starting World War III.
Yeah, and Lucas, I mean, this idea of a president needs to be honest. I guess that's a pretty simple thing to ask for, right? Among not just our presidents, but everybody.
yes, I really think that's true. I think honesty is really an important quality, no matter, even if it's not a good thing, but honest, even if it's not saying something that's good for the country, as long as you're being honest about it and not lying, I think it's really strong and really important to me and other people.
Yeah. Augustus, you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Honesty is super important. I think kind of along the same lines there, integrity, respect for the Constitution, which has shaped our country, and for the people who live in the United States, and also orchestrating a peaceful transfer of power, because that is one of the main things in elections.
This is I love talking to you. How many of you guys would want to be president someday?
I think me.
Just you?
I mean, kind of. It's just a big responsibility.
White House pool sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. Plus, you get the big airplane.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I mean,
I want to be president.
I probably wouldn't do it for all of the luxuries. I'd probably do it because
to serve the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The majority of this kids in the survey said the first thing they would do as president is address inflation and reduce the cost of things. So put yourself in the shoes of the president. What's the first thing you would do if you were elected, Annika?
So I would probably address the free school lunches, because many kids in the United States depend on free school lunches to get through the day, and I feel like more schools are shutting down free school lunches after COVID, and I feel like that's a bad thing, because it increases inflation for certain people, but I feel like they should restart free school lunches for the sake of the people of the country.
I love these answers. You guys have put a lot of thought into this. Augustus, what do you think? If you're the president, what do you think you'd have to tackle pretty much right away?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would do is request behind the plate seats at a Yankee game. But in all seriousness, probably impose a term limit on Supreme Court justices, because in the case that a president can appoint a disproportionate amount of judges to the Supreme Court, this term limit can ensure that they wouldn't be biased, and yeah.
And Lucas, I think you didn't raise your hand. You don't want to be president?
No, I think it's just a really big responsibility, and a lot of stuff rests on your shoulders, and you're one of the big people to make decisions. But the luxury in that case is really cool, with the planes, the pools, the people you get to meet.
But what would you, if you were president, I know you're not going to run, but if you were president, what do you think are some of the issues that you would need to really start working on from day one?
If I became president, the first thing I would do would rid the dinner plates of vegetables, and no more broccoli, no more asparagus, whatever. And then I would gather smart groups of people in climate change, foreign policies, and other important things in the country, and I'd have them help me make the country a better place.
Well, Minerva, how about you? You've had time to think about it?
I would definitely help the environment and our trees. I would pass protection laws, so less trees would be cut down. Deforestation is really devastating, and also, logging companies burn the trees, which releases carbon into the atmosphere, and our planet is dying, and we really need to think about what could happen, and I want to make our future brighter.
Well, that's great. You have my vote, by the way. I do want to ask you, 88% of kids surveyed said they wish adults listened to kids more. 89% said they should have a say on the issues that affect them, even though they're not old enough. So let me ask you, do any of you guys feel like, adults should listen to kids more?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
And no.
Yes and no. What's the no?
The no is that, one of the downsides is that kids have, different maturity levels. So if, adults listen to kids a lot, imagine if adults let kids do whatever they wanted, the world could pretty much become full of havoc, trouble.
Yeah, and some of these things you guys don't have a say on because you can't vote, but they affect you. They're about you. Somebody mentioned school lunches earlier and child care and all those sorts of things.
Change.
Augustus, what would you like to do that you can't do right now?
I think, of course, vote, but I think help the earth, definitely. I think adults should trust that kids can can understand big ideas such as politics. I'm taking civics class in schools right now. So I think enrolling kids in discussion to talk about these things and, civics and all politics and issues is very important, and definitely the first step, because everybody should have a good understanding of this.
Yeah, and Lucas, again, these things affect kids.
Yeah.
Do you wish that adults would listen more when they're making policy and talk to younger people?
Yes, I really wish they would, and I think it's really big because this affects our futures tomorrow and today, and it's really important. One of the most important, I think, is education, making sure all kids have access to good education, because there's certain towns that or states that you live in that they don't have the highest education and kids aren't getting to their full potential. And I think it's a really big deal, and I think kids should really have more of a say. And there's a lot of smart kids out there who are really smart and could really give good suggestions.
And how about you, Minerva?
Definitely. I mean, it's really important because even though we might not have the right to vote, we are still experiencing a lot of things right now. So, I mean, I think that the president should meet with kids and just talk with them about things that are going on, because the point of view that a kid that's growing up right now could be really important, because, like I said, our planet, and sometimes adults forget what it's like to be a kid.
You wish you guys could vote, that they would lower the voting age?
Yeah.
Maybe 16, 15?
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
But also, most kids are influenced by what their parents say.
Yeah.
So,
So do you always agree with your parents politically?
no, I mean, yes, but my and Augustus's parents, they really want us to have our own views as long as they're educated and we can back our reasoning up and we're not
Well,
just saying things.
I think that's good advice, and it's important just in general right now, because we're all getting bombarded with so much information every time we click on our phones, and it's really good to be skeptical about what you read and exercise critical thinking. So look at something and then look at it again and do a little of your own research, which is really helpful because it means you're an informed voter.
Yeah.
You know, you're coming out there and you're like, okay, here's what I feel about climate change or the economy or whatever it may be, and then you can really make your mark. So.
Definitely.
Well, guys, it's been fascinating to talk to you and to listen to you, and I'm overwhelmed that you guys are so involved in the presidential election. It's really important for all of us, so thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, even though you have to be 18 and older to vote, there are still some things you kids can do to get involved in the upcoming presidential election. Our friend Rahima Ellis spoke with the editor-in-chief of The Week Junior to find out more.
Thanks, Lester. Joining me now is Andrea Barbalek, the editor-in-chief of The Week Junior. Andrea, The Week Junior has a special edition this week dedicated to the upcoming presidential election. Why did you decide to put this issue together?
Thank you so much for having me. And, kids can't vote yet, but it's their democracy too. And the winners of the election that's coming up on November 5th will be making decisions and policies that will affect children's lives now and into the future on a wide range of issues, ranging from the economy and jobs and healthcare and education and the environment, all issues that we know kids care deeply about. So they have a right to participate in any way they can, and we wanted to help them do that.
And even though, as you point out, you have to be 18 and older to vote, I understand, in terms of what you just spoke about, that you've got some fun and creative ways that kids can still be involved in the election. And the first part is to understand why the election matters, right?
That's right. As I said, the decisions that will be made by the people who win will affect kids' lives. So one way they can participate is by researching what the different political parties stand for and what the individual candidates stand for. So what do they believe? What are their values? What do they say they will do if they get elected? And then think about how you feel. What do you believe? What do you think is the right decision for the country? And the more kids know about what's at stake and the issues that are being decided, the more they can have conversations with their family and friends, and the more exciting the election will be for them.
In terms of making it exciting, you also have a fun tip. You're suggesting that kids might become a vote captain. Explain that.
Yes, a vote captain is someone who supports and encourages people in exercising their right to vote. So in the case of kids, they can be the vote captain in their family. So what this means is they ask all the adults ages 18 and over when and how they plan to vote. So if they're going to mail in their ballot, when will they be mailing it in? If they're voting in person, are they going to vote early? Are they voting on election day? And where is their polling place? And what time do they plan to go? And then the child gathers all this information and creates a family voting plan. And we make it very easy. In this special issue of the Week Junior, we have a form that kids can print out, fill in all the information, and then put it on the refrigerator so everyone in the family can see it and remember their commitment to vote. And research shows that when this type of advanced planning takes place, voter turnout increases. And in the 2020 election, we had the highest voter turnout of any national election since 1900. So we're hoping that with kids' participation, we can boost that number and make it the highest turnout in U.S. history.
And that's part of the nuts and bolts of getting people to the polls. But I understand that you say engaging in conversations is also pretty important, right?
Right. There is a wide disagreement on many different policy issues in this country. And sometimes those opinions can get heated, even within the same family. But the wonderful thing about living in a democracy is that we all have the right to express our views. And so here's a chance for kids to be a model of civility, to learn how to listen to different points of view and respect differences and state their own case calmly and clearly. We just did a survey of children across the country, and one of the things we asked them was, what advice would you give to the next US president? And one thing came through loud and clear. They said to us over and over again, be kind to everyone, even if you disagree with them. So this is something kids feel very strongly about and something they have the opportunity to practice in their own lives right now.
They say children can lead us. Finally, the last tip is a really important one too, and that is to register.
Exactly. In our survey, 85% of kids told us they plan to register to vote as soon as they turn 18. We'd like to see that number reach 100%. So there's an easy way to do that, which is through a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization called vote.org. And kids can go to vote.org/theweekjunior and make a pledge to register as soon as they turn 18. And then on their 18th birthday, they'll get a text message reminding them to register and explaining exactly how to do it. It's easy, it's fast, and it's one of the most important ways you can participate in our democracy.
Oh, fantastic information. Thanks so much, Andrea Bobolek, Editor-in-Chief of The Week Junior.
That was great, and we should note starting today, the Week Junior special election preview issue will be available free to download for everyone at theweekjunior.com/election 2024. Okay, time now for our pop quiz. Who was the first president to live in the White House? Was it A, George Washington, B, John Adams, or C, Thomas Jefferson? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, time's up. The answer is B, John Adams. That's right, every president since John Adams has occupied the White House. The site and the design of the White House was selected and approved by President George Washington. However, he never actually lived in the White House. Turning now to our Inspiring Kids series, one girl from Vermont is lending her creativity to Election Day this year. A sticker design contest was just held in Vermont as part of the 2024 Good Citizen Challenge. A panel of judges got together to pick the winning sticker, and guess what? The winning sticker was designed by 10-year-old Kezia Warfish of Walcott. Now voters in Walcott, Vermont will get her sticker when they vote. Way to go. More than 250 kids took part in the Good Citizen Challenge. Finally, one campaign in Kentucky has literally gone to the dogs. Say hello to Mayor Wilbur Beast. The French Bulldog has been mayor of Rabbit Hash, a tiny town in Kentucky, since 2020. Since 1998, Rabbit Hash has elected a dog mayor during each presidential election year. The town holds these elections as a fundraiser for its historical society. Mayor Wilbur Beast says his favorite part of being mayor is making sure everyone has fun. We're told some 10 candidates are running to be the leader of the pack, eager to replace outgoing Mayor Wilbur. I'm putting in my request right now for an exclusive sit-down interview with the new mayor come November. Well, that is going to do it for us. Parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at NightlyKids. Thanks for watching. Remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.